events and our experiences. It is necessary to understand when you are going to understand human behavior. Just because I am mentioning it, just because every individual having different kind of experiences when they are receiving same kind of event, physical event. So let's begin, right? We will discuss about all those, what it mean, right? Why we are having different kind of experiences and all, what kind of study technique we are having to understand these kind of relationship. We will discuss all those one by one. So there are few specific and basic terms that we have to understand what it means. So there are threshold, just noticeable differences, different threshold. All these things we will discuss, right? Subliminal threshold. So here you can see the first point mentioning threshold. Threshold simply means the first point when you are detecting something. So above that point, you will detect any physical stimuli, and lower that particular point, you are not going to detect any stimuli. And threshold will be different in different individuals, right? Threshold is very customized. Suppose that if Isha, Mahima, and Jeva, if they are receiving similar level of stimuli, chances are there that one or two individual will detect them and one individual will not detect them. Let's take an example. Suppose that I'm serving a glass of water with one sugar particle. So I'm melting one sugar particle in a glass of water. Tiny sugar particle, right? जो घर में होता है, that we are using. You will not be able to detect sweetness in the water. What will happen if I will melt, two particle sugar? Then also you will not be able to detect sweetness in the water. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 particle, 8 particle, 9 particle, 10 particle. There will be a point when you will say, not so confident, but you will say, yes, I think there are sweetness in the water. When you detecting them first time, you can say, okay, this is my threshold. So maybe one individual threshold will be 15 particle sugar in one glass of water, but other individuals threshold will be 16 particle sugar in one glass of water. Third individual having 14 particle sugar in that particular glass of water. Each and every individual having different level of threshold. That's why sometimes your experiences will also be different. This is one of the reasons. But this is not the only reason. So whenever we are talking about threshold is the first point when we are detecting any physical stimuli. So if your threshold is 15 particle sugar in one glass of water, so when I will melt up to 14, you will not be able to detect, or you will not get any sweetness in that water. When I will melt 15th, then you will realize there are sweetness in the water. So 15 is your threshold. So till 14, not detecting. When I am melting 15, you are detecting them. So you can see here, refer to a point above which a stimulus is perceived. So above a point, that means 15. Whenever I am melting 15, you are perceiving them. And below that particular point, we are not perceiving them. 14, you are not perceiving them. So below this particular point, you are not perceiving. After this particular point, you are perceiving. If I will melt 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, kuch bhi. So you will perceive them. So there will be a certain point when you will start perceiving something. Those point, when you start perceiving something at a point, we can say that is threshold. Right? Each and every stimuli, each and every physical energy having a certain level of threshold. When we talk about sound, so there must be certain decibel sound, then you will be able to detect. I'm not talking about human capacity. I'm talking about your capacity. I'm talking about mind capacity. So every individual having different capacity of hearing sound, smelling something, right? Feeling sweetness or feeling bitter, feeling salty, right? So those points when you start detecting something, that will be threshold. Similarly, here you can see the second point is absolute threshold. Absolute threshold simply means when the detection chance of something will be 50%. Means when exact in 50% case, when chances are there that in exact 50% situation you will detect them, and 50% chances is there to not detect them. We can say that is absolute threshold. Like we can take one example. We can conduct a study related to absolute threshold on one individual and on group. One individual as well as on group. So we will take example of individual first. Suppose that I melted one particle of sugar in the glass of water, and I'm giving you that particular water 20 times. What do you think? How many times you will say I'm detecting sweetness, there are sweetness? 0%. If I will melt one particle of sugar, you will not be able to detect. Then 2, not able to detect. Then 3, not able to detect. 4, not able to detect. Maybe chances are there that when I will melt 10th particle and I will serve you 20 sip of that particular water. So one time, 2 time you will say, yes, I am detecting the sweetness of water. And 18, 19 time you are saying, no, there are no any sweetness. Then gradually I will increase, sweetness of water, right? Like 11 particle, 12 particle, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20. Suppose that when I melted 20th particle, then exactly 10 times you said, yes, there are sweetness of water. And 10 times you said, no, there are no any sweetness in water. I am not able to identify any sweetness of water. That means in this particular situation, 20 particle will be your absolute threshold. 20 particle will be absolute threshold, and this is giving you sense that in future, anywhere, right, whenever I will melt, right, in same amount of water, right, the same amount of sugar, and I will serve you, so there are 50% chances that you will feel sugar and you will not feel sugar, or you will feel that particular water salt, sweet, and you will not feel that particular water sweet, because I detected your absolute threshold. Your absolute threshold, suppose that your absolute threshold is suppose that 3 gram sugar, 3 gram sugar, right, in 250 gram water. So if I'm melting 3 gram sugar, right, 3 gram sugar कुछ भी हो सकता है, 20 particle, 13 particle and 20 particle, कुछ भी ग्राम में भी तो कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं ना, पार्टिकल के टर्म्स में भी you can say 20 particle, ग्राम के टर्म में I am mentioning hypothetically, right, 3 grams. So whenever you are saying 3 gram, if there will be melt, right, if you will melt 3 gram sugar, right, in this particular glass of water, so this is my threshold, absolute threshold. This is my absolute threshold. So those threshold will work in different situation. So right now, if I am serving you a glass of water with 3 gram sugar, so chances is 50-50. You can detect, you cannot detect. But if I will melt more than 3 gram sugar, then detection chance will be higher accordingly. अगर मैं 4 gram melt करूँ तो then your detection rate will be much higher than 50%. If I will melt 5 gram, then your detection rate will be much higher than 50%. Right? So absolute threshold means when detection chances and not detection chances will be exact 50-50% case, that will be your absolute threshold. In this particular example, you can find whenever I am melting, suppose that this is first particle of sugar, 10% time you are saying I am detecting. When I am melting second, then you are saying, suppose that 20% time that yes, I am detecting. Then I am melting third, then 25, fourth, then 30, fifth, maybe 40. But when I am melting this sixth particle, then exactly 50% time you are saying, yes, I am detecting this. Right? So when you are exactly mentioning that I am detecting and those numbers will be in 50%, that means 50% chances of detection are there, you can say that is my absolute threshold. So this is a study on one individual. Now we can use group to understand absolute threshold. Now what we will do, I will select 50 individual in my group. I selected them as a sample, right? And I melt 1 particle of sugar in a glass and I given one sip to every individual. That means 50 individual. अगर एक glass से काम नहीं बनेगा तो थोड़ा ज़्यादा water ले सकते हैं, right? We can take another example, but let's take an example of 1 glass, right? 1 glass में I melted 1 particle of sugar and I distributed one sip to everyone. What do you think? Everyone will mention, no, I'm not detecting any sweetness in this water. Then I will melt 2 particle and I will serve to everyone. Then 3, then serve to everyone. Then 4, serve to everyone. When I will melt 5, maybe a few individuals will say, yes, I'm detecting. Suppose that two individuals saying I'm detecting, but 48 individuals saying no, I'm not detecting. Then gradually I will increase number of sugar particle in the glass of water, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, gradually we will increase. Suppose that when I melted 20 particle of sugar in that glass, then exactly 25 individual mentioning I'm detecting the sweetness of water, and 25 individuals saying no, I'm not detecting sweetness of water. So kitna ho gaya? 50% na, because my sample is 50, 25 individuals saying detecting, 25 individuals saying not detecting. That simply means whenever you will serve a glass of water with 20 sugar of particle to anyone in your society, chances of detection कि इसमें sugar है या नहीं है will be 50%. So you can understand your absolute threshold, as well as you can also predict absolute threshold of society, absolute threshold of a person in a particular custom, in a particular culture, right? And that could be related to taste, that could be related to light, sound, smell, anything, right? So first is threshold. That means those points when you detect something first time. Absolute threshold means chances are of detection. That means if I'm melting 20 sugar particles, then that will become absolute threshold. So 19 particle will be my subliminal threshold. 18, 17, 16 to 1. So 1 to 19 will be my subliminal threshold, because chances of detection sugar in those situations will be less than 50%. And when I'm melting 20th particle, exact 50% individual saying yes, there are sugar. That will be absolute threshold. But if detection chance is less than 50%, then we can say that will be subliminal threshold. So here you can see all these particle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be subliminal